Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new, very exciting episode for us here at the Broken Knock Podcast. This is something that when you guys see this, this is going to be should be October 22nd, and this is going to be a very good day for us and anybody that is a fan of the product that we're going to be talking about today. So let's get started on that. Meg, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm back.
You're back. Yes, you were gone there for a little bit, under the weather.
Yeah.
You left everything to me and Ken.
You guys did all right without me.
All right.
We only did all right.
We just did okay.
That's all.
Oh,
That's okay.
yeah, we made it through. Ken, how you doing, buddy?
Good. Excited about what's behind me.
He's going to try to smuggle it out of here tonight.
Depends on where you're at. As long as you're not in prison, I mean,
Yeah.
say something like that there.
I know.
Be too excited. But
Oh, shit.
no, I'm with you. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure people that are watching this can probably see it hanging there, but we're going to have our guest go over it. Definitely exciting. We're looking forward to getting one in our hands this year, and hopefully being able to get one out to Illinois when we head out there in November. So, Mr. Jordan Coffta, how you doing, bud?
Doing fantastic. Thanks for having me back. Clearly
Thanks
didn't
for coming back.
Clearly
man.
didn't do a bad enough job the first time around.
No,
I got invited
No,
second time.
You did a good job. You got people riled up, you know. Just, you know, some people that
What are you
think
gonna
that 30 yards is different than what you do.
I
but
guess
hey.
so. I guess so. Well, what are you going to do? Everybody's got their opinions, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do. So how's the season going for you so far?
Good. Good. Got to go on my bear hunt, which was super exciting. Deer season just kicked off on the 1st, so whatever that was, Monday or so, I don't know. Days
Same
are just
as PA.
days
Yeah.
are just rolling
Yeah.
together. But I did get to do a September bear hunt up in New Hampshire this year, so that was super fun. First time I've ever bear hunted, and we made it happen. So
Yeah.
it was a good time.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Got to use the new products while you were there.
Yeah. I was fortunate enough to get my hands on our new flagship aluminum for this fall. Truthfully, I was pretty nervous about it just because between the time frame that I knew I was going to get the bow to the time that I had to hunt was like less than a week. So I was a little nervous as far as just making sure that, because it's a live animal that you're going to
Yeah,
hunt.
right.
Also, it's not a deer. It's a bear. I mean, it is something that could potentially kill you.
Yeah,
So I want to make sure that what I'm hitting is what I'm aiming at.
Yeah.
There's some nerves into it for sure. But one thing that I've said time and time again to engineers, people within the company is like, I've never been so confident with the bow so quickly. Just having no experience with it, just out of the box setup into the field, right?
Yeah.
So that was super nice.
Yeah, I noticed right away with that bow when we got an opportunity to shoot it here before the podcast that, every year you hear companies say, this is our smoothest bow or our best bow or, fastest, whatever it might be. That I've been shooting elites for a lot of years now. It's always been the bow that just seems to fit me well, and I got to say, I am very, very impressed with the technology in this new bow.
Yeah. They definitely did a good job. They put a lot of thought into, what they were doing. I mean, these days, everybody's making a good bow. It's just how we advance in technology and advance, and it's hard, right? I mean, it's how much can you really reinvent the wheel, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's all about the end shooter experience and how you can make it better one bow at a time.
Right. And I know you guys do a lot with target archery, but I've always looked at Elite as being one of those premier, like, bow hunter bows.
Yeah.
Like, that blue collar,
Yep.
the guy that's looking to get out in the woods, shoot a deer, elk, whatever it might be. you guys have just come along with things like with your set technology when that come out. It's always the things that you seem to be doing are things to make it more user-friendly for the end user.
Yeah.
And also, for the bow shops themselves. I mean, just, it's so nice to be able to put a bow in a press, set it up real quick, hand it to a customer and know that, it's done right.
100%.
And that's the one thing that I feel like your engineers spend a lot of time, working on, making sure that it's just, just a super easy bow to use.
Yeah, it's definitely all about a balance. I think it's nice because we do have a very rich and, positive target background within the company, with target shooters and guys that have really experienced the nitty-gritty as far as like, the technology side, but also there's the side of, hunting and target don't necessarily just go hand in hand with everything, that there is within a bow. So it's just super important that there's a good balance with that. And I think that's what you see in a bow, especially like this with all the technology that we have and the ability to really just give the end user a really good hunting, platform experience, as well as having, those real good nitty-gritty technological advances, within the bow itself that, a target archer or a guy that wants to tinker, can do.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and those things, when it, because we know firsthand, at the shop that guys, they like to tinker. And, they're sometimes too much, but it's nice to know that when you put a bow, like the Elite in their hands that has the set technology, you're inviting that. You're inviting them to, hey, if you go home and you're shooting your broadheads with your field points, just a slight little adjustment here is all you got to do, and you'll get it. So that's definitely nice to see that, things like that. And from the bow hunter standpoint of being up in a tree and the nerves of having a deer in front of you or whatever it might be that you're hunting, it's nice to have that full draw experience that you get with these bows where you literally just feel like you're relaxing, like you're sitting in a coffee shop at full draw, man. This thing just seriously, like you can hold it forever. That's the one thing about the Elites that have always just fit me, that I'm a bow hunter first, and I want something that's going to allow me to get the job done. Like we were saying, you want something that's going to allow you to do it efficiently, and have confidence when you're using that equipment. So
100%. And I think to kind of circle back on the tinkering things, guys are doing that more and more. And I think that's just sort of a change or a shift in just the industry in general. Because, I mean, I look back at, when I started bow hunting or looked at, like, my early years, watching my dad teach me how to bow hunt, it's like we didn't talk about paper tuning. We didn't talk about shimming cams around. We didn't talk about all this stuff, right? And yes, it's important. Do I think at times we overthink it? Absolutely. There's guys that certainly overthink things, when it comes to, whatever, arrow weight, tune, whatever. I mean, those things are important. There's no doubt, but, there's things that are definitely overthought. But also, with that being said, it's super important that, from a pro shop perspective, you're very right in the sense of, like, with the Elite platform, you can send a customer out the door and they can tinker with it, and they're not really going to hurt anything. They're not going to hurt anything. They're not going to break anything, right? I mean, they can, but I mean, they can do some stuff with it, and if they need help to set it, reset it, and if they bring it back to the shop, it's not a half a day's worth of work to get it.
Right.
Whereas, unfortunately, with some other bow manufacturers, if you send them out the door and they want to tinker, well, guess what? To tinker with something, it requires a bow press. It requires you to take the cam off the bow. And, man, if you're not, like, really experienced in what you're doing, you can put it back together incorrectly very easily and then have a serious problem on your hands. And then you take it to your local bow dealer, and they're going to be, an hour plus into the service of that, and that's just it it costs them money. It's going to cost the consumer. Just nobody wins.
No,
in
no
that
one
aspect.
does. And yeah, and as a shop owner, I know we try to be as efficient as we can, getting people in and out, and want to make sure things are done right. And when the manufacturer takes the time to make sure that they're making that easier for us, it just makes us want to sell that product even more versus another that, like you said, where you got to tear the whole thing apart just to get it to shoot the way that it should.
And it's funny too with her experience in this year. Like she started to get into like, oh man, what if we change this, or what if we do this? I'm like, no, you're fine.
I don't do that too much.
It's funny. Like you're starting like when you're picking up.
Yeah,
she
you learn.
She was like, let's raise my poundage a little bit. I might be able to get a little more speed, and she's starting to get into that detailed part of it.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, like it's not hurting anything. We can do it with this Elite, with her Allure.
Yep.
Raise it up a little bit and wait. And we got up into his saddle. She practiced shooting out of his saddle. She's like, okay, yeah, I believe we can put my weight back down a little bit. It's a little harder to draw back in a tree stand than stand in the backyard. But that's the other thing too with just the certain bows. You can only go so much with weight. And like you said, you're changing cams, you're changing.
Yeah.
There's changes to be made.
But even with messing with my weight and the little things we've messed with, like when we turn it back, it hasn't changed everything. Like we've turned the weight back down and nothing changed with the bow at all. Like
100%.
Yeah.
And that's where the set technology comes in. It makes it nice.
Yeah, in case you end up taking a little bit out of tune, just changing the draw weight a little bit. You just run that set technology. And
it's pretty impressive. So.
Yeah, I think especially for like the saddle. I mean, anybody that's in the Northeast, especially. I mean, I think saddle hunting's popular. Growing more and more each and every day. But I think in the Northeast, PA, New York, New England, like saddle hunting is like big. Right?
Yeah, it's definitely getting bigger.
It's popular, and to anybody out there that like is a like diehard like saddle or mobile hunter, like this is a bow that is like catered especially to that for sure. Just the profile of it. So I think that's one thing that will be looked upon as far as like saddle hunters go. Looking for that compact, in and out type setup.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with that said, that leads us right into what you brought here. Again, this be October 22nd, the release day for Elite Archery and the new bows. So I guess lead us into it, Jordan. Tell us what you got.
So, again, we'll launch this bow on the 22nd of October. We're going to have a few other ones that we'll release as well. There'll be a couple other aluminums. There will be a new carbon, but I wanted to bring this and really highlight it as this is like the main flagship that we'll be promoting in the fall that we're super excited about. So this is going to be called the Elite Artus. So it's essentially 30.5 inches axle to axle. It's going to have the integrated pockets with the rack system that you may or may not have seen on the Exalt 35.
Yes.
So there'll be some new accessories, bipods, bow sling, tree rope, up and down out of a tree saddle or tree stand, whatever you need. It is fully integrated on the pick mount that's bolted onto the riser, and it's fully integrated on the rest as well, which is pretty cool. So, I mean, top to bottom, it has all the accessory features, integration features that an end user would want. One other thing that I'm really excited about is really this cam. It has the SP cam profile, which is very similar to what the Era, the Ethos. I mean, those are the two that I can think of off the top of my head that have this profile. It's a little different, but essentially it's on the same par. But we did add this machined aluminum yoke system bracket. This essentially is just to help with the tuning aspect. Obviously, you're going to do a lot of your tuning within the set system, but guys that might have a longer draw length, run a different style of arrow, it's just going to alleviate any possibility of cams touching the cables. Just really alleviate any tuning issues that you could possibly have. It will still offer the performance and smooth mods, 1/4-inch draw increments, which is really nice.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. That's a big one that guys overlook for sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, a guy that says, I'm a 29-inch draw, you might really not be.
Yeah.
But
everyone's different.
It could just be something you don't know. And then, I really believe, and I think you guys experienced the same thing when you shot it. The cam just balances
It does
so incredibly well compared to what some of the other bows have done in the past with a different profile.
Yeah, I noticed when you drew it back at full draw, it just finds its balance point very easily.
It just sits there and just doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
it finds that center and it just hangs out.
Yeah, and one thing like a lot of guys will say is, they'll see the specs of a 30.5-inch bow and they'll immediately go to, I can't shoot a short bow. Okay, well, there's some things you need to navigate into on why you believe that is. One of which, in many cases, is when most manufacturers will go with shorter axles, they will also then shorten the brace height. From my personal experience, I'm just going to talk about me. When it has a shorter brace height, it essentially makes me personally more inaccurate because there is a longer period of time that you are drawing the bow to your anchor point. There's less of a takeoff point from your top of your cam to your anchor point, and essentially it just makes the bow a little bit more difficult to hold and aim. Now, on the flip side of that, you do get more speed out of the bow, essentially, when you do have a shorter brace height. So there's definitely give and take. So one thing when you're looking at a short bow, definitely pay attention to your brace height. That's a big deal. And then also, okay, axle to axle, and we really tried to hit this home on the Ethos platform, but it's still something that I truly believe end users need to understand is, like, axle to axle really doesn't mean anything. And most people will completely, I almost wish axle to axle wasn't even a spec because people give that way too much credit. Way too much. Mm-hmm. Because really what it comes down to is how well do you shoot the bow? Because if I can point and aim and shoot with a 30-inch bow or a 38-inch bow, if I shoot a 38-inch bow better, guess what I'm going to go into the field with? I'm going to go into the field with whatever I can aim and shoot the best, right?
Right.
So pay attention to, okay, yes, it may be 30.5 inches axle to axle, but look at the size of these cams, right?
Right.
That's a huge point to be made is these have large cams and your takeoff point is really more of a 32 to essentially almost a 33-inch bow.
Right.
So, and that's why, you can get these 32, 33-inch axle-to-axle bows shooting so well because, they have a bigger cam on them, and they're shooting like a longer axle-to-axle platform bow.
You look at, like what's hanging back on a wall whenever I started bow hunting. Yeah. Look how small those cams are.
Yep.
It's not that funny.
Tonka truck wheels.
But, so back then.
It's the same concept, but it's been lost in translation due to some marketing, of other companies and just, a lack of knowledge. But really, I pay a lot more attention. Yes, axle to axle is an important spec. Also pay attention to the cam size, pay attention to your brace height, and then just overall feel of the draw cycle is super important. But I think, for a lot of people, I feel like even draw cycle to a certain extent is overlooked, that the more you shoot the bow, the more comfortable you will get, and that's just a fact. I think more important things to me are, tuning aspect, it's just small features that I can really make sure the bow fits me good, because the better the bow fits you, the better you're going to shoot it. The better you shoot it, the more confidence you're going to have. Mm-hmm. Then when that moment comes, whether you're shooting a 3D target, shooting a 10 ring, or you're shooting a live animal, those worries are out the window. Then it's on you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we
muscle memory is
That's why we tell everybody when they come in, if they're not dead set on a certain brand or a certain bow, shoot them all. Mm-hmm. We tell everyone that because you got to find the one that fits you.
Yeah.
But it's nice when the manufacturers take the time to come up with things that's going to make it easier for that end user. I just feel like that's something that you guys probably take a lot of pride in and do very well.
100%.
It's
100%. Yeah, and like I said, I had a 1 week period between literally taking this bow out of the box, running it to one of my local dealers that I've worked with a long time, and I trust him, and I kind of have the same wavelength as far as like what I like to achieve in the tuning aspect of my bow, the speed that I try to achieve and whatnot. So I mean, it's kind of a bummer because like this set technology is really like, it's like having leather seats in a Cadillac. I mean, it's like you really like it, but I mean, I kind of struck out in the sense of I took the bow out of the box, I put the center shot to 13/16, and I shot a bullet hole. So it's like, damn it, like really couldn't
kind of wanted to work with it a little bit.
Yeah, kind of want to play with it a little bit.
Right.
So, which I mean, believe me, there's been many times where I'll be in my basement at night. I'm just gonna crank this thing all the way out and shoot a 2-inch tear and then bring it all the way back. I've done it. I have.
Listen,
and it's so easy to do. But there's also the guy that's like, oh, shot a bullet hole, never touching anything ever again.
I seen it happen at the ATA show when you guys come out with set technology. I mean, there were, it's like handing a bow to everybody. Hey, this bow is detuned. Shoot it, and
we'll get it to tune.
We'll tune it no matter what.
And that's really the way you have to do it, to show people, like, try to mess it up.
Right.
Try to put holes in this thing. Try to make it not work, and we'll make it work.
Yeah. Yeah, that's you somehow whoever come up with that perfected that. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So, along with this bow, you've got 3 other new bows coming out.
So we will have a new price point aluminum. We will have a new carbon, which will have some of the same features that the bow behind me has, and then we will essentially have an Exalt 35 with the new cam. That for those that have a longer draw length, we'll definitely want to check out, because that was a big thing with the Exalt 35. It just it only goes to 29.5, and there's just a lot of customers that will be past that, so we wanted to make sure that we kept those guys happy as well. So, yeah, I mean, the lineup is, I mean, you've seen it over the last years. We don't try to cut anyone out, as many people as we can to keep, within, our lineup is to have an offering for everyone, right?
Right, yeah.
Whether it
Something
be
for everybody.
the specs that you shoot or how much money you have in your wallet.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've done well over the years with the Ember as being an entry-level bow.
Even
I mean,
one
we
Saturday.
We sell a lot of those.
Yeah.
And then the Basin, for that person that wants technically an Ember, but, 70 pounds instead of 60.
Yeah.
So those have been very good bows, very good offerings there as well.
Actually, I want to touch base on those 2 bows, because I think every manufacturer wants to highlight flagship bows, as they should. It's where they invest a lot of their time and a lot of their money. But those are 2 bows that, in my opinion, are like, I mean, we do very well with them. Do not get me wrong, but I feel like they're almost incredibly underrated for what they are, because and I've told a lot of dealers and customers that are new to either archery or new to the brand of Elite, right? Most manufacturers, when they decide that they're going to, either add a SKU or move away from, they want to create something outside of the flagship market, right? Which, I mean, you've seen it, I'm sure, that the market has a very high appetite for people that don't want to spend $1,000+ on a bow. I mean, look at the price of gas, look at the price of groceries, right?
Exactly.
It is through the roof. Not everybody wants to spend $1,500 on a bow setup. I totally get that.
Right.
Well, when they decide to make a bow that, isn't going to be a flagship, there's a few things that they will do. And this is just me. I'm not picking on any manufacturer. I'm just stating an absolute fact. They will cut quality of material. Fact. They will decrease technology, that they have within the bow, or they will, especially if it's a package bow, they will really cheap out on accessories that they put on. And that's no fault of anyone.
It's what you have to do.
Those are things you have to do.
Cost-cutting measures.
Right? Mm-hmm. So in my opinion, the only thing that we do out of those three things is probably the technology side. Is we cut out, we don't have set, we don't have integration, we don't have those things, right? But quality of material. Any bow on the market, period, end of story, if you go from the $299 price to a $900 price, in 95% of the case, that bow will have plastic on it. Someplace, that bow will have some plastic on it, whether it's the pockets, the riser, the probably not the riser, but pockets, cams, mods, they will have plastic. Now, is plastic a bad thing? No, not necessarily, but it is not going to last. It won't. Is it lighter? Yep, sure is. And that's a selling point to some people. The bow's too heavy. I need it to be light. Okay, perfect. That's the bow for you, the plastic components. But just know this isn't going to be a long-term resolution, most likely.
Right.
And then the other thing is the accessories, especially if it's some type of package bow. They're just not going to be as high of a quality. On our bows, we have $300, $250, $300 worth of high-end CB accessories that are on every package bow. You will not find a subpar product on the package, right? So, I tell a person that might have, a specific budget, well, okay, here's plastic, here's machined aluminum. Machined aluminum is definitely going to be heavier, but I think overall, quality of material, better accessories, in certain cases, it could be an extra $75 to $100, but I urge a lot of customers to really think about how much that is going to affect down the road their shooting experience. I mean, I know guys that have shot the Embers, shot Basins. They're either still shooting them and absolutely love them, and then it's just one step up to get, a high-end bow with all the bells and whistles of technology and whatnot, that really, give them that opportunity to, enhance their shooting experience.
Absolutely.
The sight that comes on the Embers, that 3-pin CBE.
The tactic.
Yeah.
It's a heck of a 3-pin sight. Like and I'm pretty picky with bow sights, and she can vouch for that. I love that sight. If someone were to tell me, hey, you need to take a sight out in the woods, you're not going to have a single tool with you, and you're going to be out there for a month, that is the sight that I would put on my bow, because it's a no worry. You can need a tool. It's toolless with the wing nuts.
Yeah.
Beautiful 3-pin sight on those bows too.
I always point out to customers when they're looking at those packages, I says, typically the accessories that are on it, we have hanging on the shelf for sale as well. And I'll tell them, look at what the cost is on this stuff, individually hanging there on the wall.
Yep.
When you get this bow, just like you'd said, you're not getting a $10 plastic rest. Mm-hmm. You're not getting a $15 plastic sight.
Yep.
You're getting high-end quality CBE products put on that Elite bow, and that's definitely a selling point. I've had one customer in particular a couple years ago back at TAC. He had said, I'm coming on for a new bow. His wife actually had come in a few weeks beforehand and bought a gift card for $1,500 from us for him to buy a new bow.
Yeah.
He was coming down. He thought to buy a high-end, flagship bow from another manufacturer.
Yeah.
And just like I tell everyone, I said, shoot everything.
Yep.
So he shoots the Ember. He said, just because I'll shoot it. And he was a guy that was just in the market for a new bow. Didn't really have a brand in particular. And he ended up leaving with an Ember package.
Yep.
And he was here to buy a flagship.
Yeah.
So the funny thing was that, and the reason I brought up the gift card was because it took him like a couple years to spend all the money on the gift card.
Yeah.
Because of the Ember's price point. You know, he wasn't expecting that, and then it was just like he had to kind of find stuff to buy afterwards because he got such a good deal on the bow.
100%. And like one thing to like almost add to with the accessories of the package, you pointed out like the accessories that are on that bow are sold separately on the shelf. I would say 90% of the time, if you were to ask, okay, could I just buy the accessories off of another manufacturer's bow? Most of the time they don't sell those. And there's a reason for that. There's not a high demand for those accessories.
Exactly, there's not.
Your sight is that you started out with on
absolutely.
the Allure was that 3-pin.
Yeah, just the accessories that come on it alone are way better than any other package bow that we have. So as soon as I start talking to somebody price point wise, those are the 2 bows that I'm reaching up for because they just make the most sense for somebody.
Mm-hmm. And we saved that sight because she went to the slider 3-pin then because she wanted to shoot farther, and I was like, no, we're saving this sight because this is gonna be like our backup sight.
And it's good for like from a price point standard. If somebody buys some of the other manufacturers like good price point package bows, those accessories they're probably gonna want to replace them pretty quickly. So then it's no longer a $400 or $500 bow because you're going to spend a couple $100s in new accessories because you want better stuff on it. Where with the Ember, you're not going to because you're happy with what you have.
100%.
Yep. Ember, Basin, same thing.
Yeah.
Definitely good sellers. So if anybody out there, if you haven't looked at those, you know, and you're in the market for a price point bow, definitely want to check those out.
Yeah. So, and I think it's almost sad because like price point bows shouldn't even be the term for it, right? It is, but it shouldn't be. It should just be entry whatever. It should be something else. It should just, you know, if you're in the market for a bow, you know, come in and that should be on the radar, whether it's, you know, you are looking for the flagship or, you know, you're looking for something more budget friendly. But, you know, you can get a lot of high-end quality material, at least on our platform, for a lot less money if that's something that you so choose to do.
Right.
Yeah. So on the new bows, let's talk a little bit about the new carbon. So right now, you know, leading up to this, you have the Arrow, which has become one of my favorite all-time elites. I love that bow.
Yep.
And that's what 30-inch, you know, the Arrow.
Yep.
So the new one, what's the specs going to be on that?
So it'll be stretched out a little bit longer than the Era. It'll have the same SP2 cam. That's what we're calling this. Same cam system as the Artus does. So it'll definitely have a very similar draw cycle feel with that platform, and then it'll have some integration as well. So all the same color options on that bow that we're super excited about. But yeah, I mean, I shot the Era the year it came out, and I shot it second year. I was truly convinced that I would never shoot anything else. And I think the reason that I'm shooting the Artus is simply for the fact of just I didn't think I'd want to go back to aluminum because it's just it's a weight feel difference, you know.
Right.
But you know, I found myself getting super comfortable with it so quickly. I really liked, and then just and it's so hard to say it into a mic rather than just have somebody actually doing it, but like it really does just aim and hold so well for such a short bow. I mean, it just points and aims extremely well. So yeah, I was just really impressed with that, and that just came down to confidence. Like within probably 2 days of having the bow and shooting it, I was fully confident that I could go into the woods and you know try to harvest an animal.
Right.
So thankfully I had a few extra days after to really dial that in. But yeah.
Nice. So the price point, or more back to that word again. The new bow that's going to be on the lower price range.
Yep.
What's the specs going to be on that?
So that'll be a 33-inch axle bow. That'll be another one that's going to have, some high-end. That'll be all machined aluminum. There'll be some high-end accessories. I shouldn't say accessories. High-end components. So, cam mod system will be very flagship-like, something that Elite customers have seen before. And then there'll be some integration within that bow as well. And that'll have all color options available, which is another thing that usually when you drop price, they'll kind of set specific colors. That one will be offered in all color options, which will be pretty nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
It just kind of gives the customer, instead of spending $1,400 on a bare bow, they can get out the door $1,200 to $1,300.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's going to
is.
fit a lot of people's budgets. I mean, like you said, with fuel costs and groceries and everything going up, it's nice to have options.
Yep.
And then
the Exalt, I'll say it, just the Exalt LD. That's what'll be the name. So that'll have essentially. So the Exalt 35 right now has our SPX cam, which is our short cam, and then the Exalt LD will have it'll have the SP cam. It'll have the same cam that's on the Ethos and the Era. The reason for, and some guys will probably question it, why we didn't do the SP2 cam on the Exalt LD. Reason for that is, again, why we did the SP2 cam on the shorter bows is for a tuning aspect. We have far more circumstances where when guys max out that draw length chart, they run into cam lean and cables touching. You can alleviate that, but it just causes, more stress on end user dealers. We want to alleviate that. That's why we did the SP2 cam. When you have a longer axle bow, that really gets completely alleviated with the tuning aspect. So you run into that far less. And this just is added more weight. And there's no point in adding more weight to what's already going to be a heavy bow with it just being so much riser. Right. So that's why we did just the standard SP cam on 35. And I mean, the bow will go to 32 inches, which is a big deal for Elite, especially because we haven't had a bow that's gone to 32 inches since before I've been with the company.
Now on that long draw, what's it going to max out at draw length?
32.
30.
32, like I just said. 5 seconds.
Sorry. I was like, listening.
It wasn't just me, right?
I heard you.
I thought you were screwing with me. I really thought you were screwing with me for a second.
You literally did just.
I was thinking I wanted to ask you that, and as I was thinking it, you said it, and then it just.
No backing out.
Yeah, there was.
I was like, "You being serious?"
He was dead.
All right, we can move on. I'm done.
Yeah. So yes,
shit.
it will peak it at 32
inches.
Inch. So yeah. We're super excited for that. I think that'll be a good platform. Just, again, short bow, long bow, aluminum, carbon, different prices.
Right.
Just all in all, just have a full portfolio of, options for the end user. We really don't want to pigeonhole ourselves into only really being able to market towards one customer.
Yeah, certain customers, yeah.
There is a couple taller guys that come in here, too.
We
and
get
they're looking
asked
for
a
a
lot.
longer draw bow, and it's
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it gets tough at times to come up with something.
It sure
for
can.
them.
Yeah, I had a dealer like 2 years ago. What was the Matthews bow that went wicked long? The Atlas.
Atlas, yeah.
And he had told me he had sold like 2 or 3 Atlases completely maxed out that year, which I think that was like 34 or something like that. I'm like,
Yeah, it goes.
oh my
up there.
god,
Yeah,
that's wild to
Yep.
me.
Yeah, we've had some guys
I
come
don't,
in.
I don't doubt it. It's just crazy to me to think
It's
34 inch draw length. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
what?
It seems to go in stages with things like that. You'll get a bunch of guys. When I say a bunch, 4 or 5 through the door that need that long draw length, and then the next thing you know, next week it's like 4 or 5 guys. They're all left-handed.
Yep.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's just strange how
That's
that
another one.
happens.
The amount of lefty business is crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
more and more people apparently that are left-handed are deciding they want
Yeah, they want to bow
to
hunt
shoot
now.
a bow right now.
Mm-hmm.
So are all the new ones going to be offered left-handed since we're talking about that?
Yeah. Yes, they will. Yes, they will. They will be offered in left hands. So.
I always feel bad when they walk in and they say they're left-handed and they're like, "Do you have any left-handed bows?" And I'm like, No, not right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, most left-handed shooters have kind of come to the realization, unless they're a new archer, have come to the realization that most bow shops aren't.
Yeah, none of them are like,
aren't
oh,
gonna
are you
have-
kidding me?
Yeah,
They're just like,
yeah,
ah,
they're just
yeah.
like, yes.
Yeah, they're like accustomed to asking for left-handed things, and they might have to wait a little. Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we try to get some in, but it's tough, with all the offerings from all the manufacturers, all the colors, everything, to get something in that's,
So unique.
yeah, it's just so hard because somebody always wants it to be just a little different than what you have.
Yep.
So that makes it tough. But
What's the new carbon? Is it the Era then changing, or is it a new name on that one?
The Eon.
The Eon.
Yep.
Okay.
Carbon Eon. So it'll be the Artus, the Carbon Eon, the Hunter 33. That'll be the new mid-price bow, and then the Exalt LD. So that'll be the 4-bow lineup that will continue with the Allure, Ember, Basin, and Terrain.
Cool.
So, yeah.
that's a solid lineup.
Yeah.
For sure. One of the most.
I mean, that's a big lineup.
Yeah.
And what's nice too is it tailors to more people because it's not you're not just releasing one flagship top tier price bow.
Yeah.
You're literally releasing one for each person that could possibly be in in the archery industry and hunting.
Yeah. On and just I'm just thinking. I mean, the prices that separate those bows from top to bottom, you're talking, maybe $100, $150, $200, where they can jump into that next level. So it's nice to see you have something. For
Flex
everyone.
Recurve, that's in the lineup.
Yeah, I forgot all about that. And I'm going to be hunting with that. Thing is just freaking awesome.
Yeah. I've had a lot of fun toying with mine.
We did that
little
video.
Yeah.
And right out the gate, that thing just shot.
Oh, you were laying them in there.
I says, I'm hunting with it. I'm
the
killing
woodchuck
shit
in my
this year.
backyard is going to get it one of these days.
Don't go
And
out there.
the worst part is, like, I won't shoot him with my compound because I want to do it with my recurve, and he's out there because he knows. You ain't hitting me. What are you doing with that stick thing? You ain't going to do nothing with that. So.
It's that bow there will impress you if you've never shot or even if you have. I mean, it's
I don't know. Great looking.
I mean,
awesome looking.
Good looking.
just
bow.
even the technology in that,
Yeah.
just what you guys did with that bow to make it to where, it comes with 2 strings. You can make it two lengths. I mean, it's
Adjust the shelf, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of technology just into a recurve.
Yeah. And I'm no recurve expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I do know a lot of people within the industry and, at shops that have a lot of experience that have spoken very highly of that. So, that was something pretty cool that we did this year that I'm glad we did.
Yeah, me too. Me too. It was funny because when I called you and asked you, hey, do you have any of the old
Origins
recurves hanging around in the warehouse? You're like, no, but
honestly, when you asked me that, like, part of me was like, what is he talking about? Like, we never had a recurve. And then, like, it was like starting to, like, because when I started, we didn't have it. Like, so it was like long before my time. And I'm like, is he crazy? Like, I don't think we have a recurve.
Just remember, I used to shoot shit like that hanging on the wall, so I've been around for a while.
And then the light bulb hit. I'm like, oh, yeah, we did have a recurve way back in the day. So, yeah.
Way back when.
Yeah. I don't even, maybe you 3 weren't even born then. I don't know. Maybe I'm that old.
No, my first, yeah.
What? When the Origin?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's not that old. No, I'll throw you a bone. You're not that old. Don't worry about
I
that.
appreciate that.
But just remember that when we write your order later. But yeah, no, it's been good, and yeah.
I think, and then just with shooting this with this bow downstairs, like you were saying, just the stability at full draw was amazing, and then this thing was dead.
Yeah,
on
it doesn't
shot.
shoot like a normal short bow.
No.
No.
Would.
And I've always been like the people that you say, oh, I'd like to shoot a taller axle, for the stability. But this bow, and then even in that carbon era, are much more stable.
Yeah, it's definitely one of them things you really need to break down as far as like the true specs of a bow
Right.
rather than just a couple, numbers that they give you. I mean, even, IBO speeds are kind of just a number, right? 'Cause
It is.
the IBO speed that they put on the stickers 99.9% of the time, not the speed you're going to be shooting out of a hunting setup,
No.
So,
No, it's a super light arrow, unloaded string,
30-inch draw, 70 pounds,
Yeah.
I think is what they go off of for it. So, yeah, it's
I think I really think that customers are going to be excited to shoot this bow here. I think it's going to it's, even if a guy right now that doesn't shoot Elite or has never shot an Elite shoots that bow, I think it's going to make him a believer in what you guys are doing.
Make them think about it, right? I mean, that's the goal, is to expose the brand and put the bow in as many people's hands to hopefully give them the, even if they don't walk out with the bow, it could be something as simple as like, talking to their buddy at deer camp and telling them, hey, I actually shot an Elite down at Creek Archery, and it was pretty nice. And then maybe his buddy goes and checks it out, So,
I mean, hey, as a longtime bow hunter, I'd say that if you're somebody that's looking for a bow that you can hold at full draw for as long as you want without feeling like it wants to creep on you or take off, and it's very balanced, I mean, you need to shoot this new bow. There's no doubt about it.
I ran into that exact scenario on my bear hunt. I mean, that was... I don't know if you want to really get into that story.
Yeah,
but,
heck yeah.
Why not?
I'm already sitting here thinking of questions about your bear hunt, so let's do it.
Yeah. So my bear hunt was up in New Hampshire. It was the same group of friends that I turkey hunted with this spring. They're huge into bear hunting, and invited me up, and it's hunting over bait. So, of course, when I was driving up there, my whole thought, I'm like trying to think like in my head, how this all plays out. As far as, where to aim on the bear, because it is different than a whitetail. I mean, anybody that's bear hunted, it's like a liver shot essentially on a whitetail. That's really where you're aiming. And like, believe me, like even when the moment came where I was aiming on the bear, it's like, man, I really did feel like I wanted to just go right behind that front leg. I'm like, nope, don't do that. Pull it back just a little bit.
Yeah.
But even on my way up there, I'm like just kind of, running it through my head, like how it's all going to play out. And obviously it never plays out the way you think it is. But it wasn't until I got there that, and I'm kind of thankful that this is the bow that I had, for the sense of once I got there, they told me that we were going to hunt out of a ground blind. Now,
that must be something they like to do to people that have never done that before hunting bears.
I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a sissy, but needless to say, I did make the comment that somebody's going to have a gun in that blind if I'm going to be in
I
it,
know exactly
right?
where you're going with
So,
this.
not only was I in a ground blind, I then asked them, how far is the bait? I'm thinking 25 yards, hopefully 20. The
no,
first
10 or 11.
it was 11 yards
Yes.
from the blind. Where,
It didn't look like that in the pictures you were putting up.
no,
when you
it
were waiting.
was close. So, needless to say, the first I thankfully I did not see a bear every time I hunted, which was great. So I hunted for 4 days and I killed on the last day. And anybody that knows me well enough, if I go somewhere on a hunt, I kill on the last day. I will never kill on the first day anywhere. I do not have that type of luck in my body at all whatsoever. Outside of the time that I turkey hunted with you in Ohio, that's the only time I've ever killed something on the first day of the hunt. But the first afternoon came around, and bears, as big as they are dead silent. Mm-hmm. They do not you would think that you would hear them coming from a mile away. I promise you, and I'm not saying I'm a bear hunting expert, but I've now seen enough where I feel confident in saying this. You will see them before you hear them.
Yeah.
Always. You will see. Which is kind of sketchy,
That's
especially.
scary.
Oh, it is.
It's
It's
kind of
very
sketchy
sketchy.
if you're in a blind, like in between them and food, right? So, first bear shows up, And another thing that, and I learned, like, I'm kind of almost thankful that I killed on the last day because I learned a ton on, like, that's a big goal of mine anytime I go on a hunt. It's like, yes, I want to harvest, I want to have success, but if I'm not successful at the end of the day, like, I want to have left with something. And if I hadn't killed, I would have left that hunt with a ton of knowledge on how to bear hunt.
Right.
How to bear hunt, just what they do, the anatomy of a bear, what to not expect, as far as, you ain't going to hear them. You're going to see them first. Where to aim on them. They're wicked smart. I mean, they knew, they knew I was there. They knew when we were there, when they weren't there. They knew how to access the bait where they weren't showing their vitals to the front of the blind. I mean, that was the whole deal why I really didn't kill one on the first night, is that bear literally stood behind the barrel for 40 minutes. And my heart is like, I saw the bear from, the bait was, 11 yards, but I saw him maybe another 25, 30 yards behind the barrel coming. And, I mean, this thing, now to put in perspective, in New Hampshire and New England for the most part, like, yes, there are big bears, but these aren't like Canada bears. Like, these aren't like 5, 6, huge 100-pound bear. Like, these aren't monstrous bears, right? Now, there are pick and choose, a couple, but for the most part, these are, I would say between the 250-pound to 300-pound. That's whatever, my guess. So, I mean, I'm seeing this thing coming. This is the first bear I've really ever seen in the wild. I'm at ground level with the thing. I'm sitting there with my buddy Buck. And it's
walking toward you.
Oh, my God. This thing is freaking huge. Get your gun ready. This thing is coming in hot. And all I'm thinking in my head, and I'm like, okay, how big is this thing? And I'm like, you could have told me that was a 400-pound bear, and I would have bought you for everything you said. And then my buddy Buck's like, yeah, it's like a 150-pound bear. I'm like, what? No way that's a 150-pound bear. No way. And he's like, yeah, I mean, and they're wicked hard to judge. Like, truly how big or, like, they're hard to judge. You really kind of have to, they almost have to get to the barrel for you to really, like, judge how big they are. So, fortunately, it was kind of nice that the first afternoon, the bear I saw, I didn't shoot, but I kind of got to see what they do, so I could now somewhat expect it, see how they act, kind of judge one based off size, and then move forward. And then I only hunted afternoons. Most of the time, hunting the mornings, they can be successful, but the problem is you can go in there in the morning, they can be on the bait already, and you can bump them off, and I didn't want to run into no bears yet.
Nope.
No,
you'd be like,
sketchy.
nope.
I mean,
no, thanks.
You talking about your hunt, it just reminded me of everything that I had experienced when I went through northern Saskatchewan. That was the same thing. I didn't know I was going to be hunting on the ground for black bears.
Yeah.
Last time I saw a bear was at the Pittsburgh Zoo. Yeah. Never, ever, as long as I've lived in Pennsylvania, have I ever bear hunted.
Yeah.
Outside. Nor seen one.
Yeah.
And then they put me on the ground, and when we say ground blind, it was they cut some pine limbs up and just laid them there.
Oh yeah.
And the first bear I had come in was over 400 pounds, and he was from me to you away, standing there clicking his jaws. And I self-filmed this whole thing. I had a shotgun laying there, and I'm like, well, if he comes, I can't pick that up. So at least I'll have footage of what happened.
Yeah, that's right.
But it was an experience.
Yeah.
It's up close and personal.
Yep.
They
really are. They are a very cool animal.
Yeah.
Like, as I'm saying, how sketchy this is, and how, like, once you kind of, like, get that initial, like, adrenaline dump of, like, what to expect after the first encounter, you really, like, start to realize, like, wow, they are a really cool animal to watch and, do what they do. So, the second afternoon, a smaller bear had come into the bait, and I knew it was a smaller bear even before it got to the bait, just because I had seen one the night before and could kind of judge. And it was cool because like he came all the way into the bait. He ate there for half an hour. I mean, I could have shot him. It was just a really cool like experience. It's almost like, you know, when you're hunting whitetail and you just got like a 1.5 or 2.5-year-old buck like making a scrape right in front of you. Like, yeah, you could shoot it, but like what a cool
just the
experience in the wild that, you know, you get to see this animal do what he does on a daily basis, and you know that's a success in itself. And, you know, third day rolled around, and I actually hunted out of a tree stand the third day. We switched up baits, and friggin' some lady's dog got out, like neighboring property, and she's like yelling for the dog and spooks the bear off as it was coming into the bait, and then like the dog runs through the woods like at like 40 yards. I'm like, this thing's gonna get munched. But yeah, that was quite the experience. And then the last day, I wasn't, you know, for me sometimes when like it gets to the last day, I'll get very kind of discouraged. And I had never been so confident going into the last day, as I knew what to expect. I knew what should happen, you know, let the chips fall where they may, right? But, you know, I just had full confidence in, you know, the equipment, what I was doing, what to expect. And, you know, the bear that I had seen that first night came back in, and we had made some adjustments to the barrel, so he kind of had to come to the front. And he had come to the front of the barrel, and he really didn't present me like a perfectly broadside shot. He was kind of quartering too, but it ended up good because he had put his front leg forward to go and like move a log out of the front of the barrel. And it was kind of nice because it kind of put me in the whitetail aiming perspective, where I didn't have to necessarily worry about aiming too far back, because I knew if I did hug that front shoulder, it was going to blow through everything. Was able to draw back slowly, get the shot off. It just popped. Didn't sound like I hit bone or anything. Thing turned around, took off. And I went and picked up the arrow, and there was not barely a speck of blood on the arrow. It looked like straight guts, and I'm like, oh no, this is like not good. And my buddy's like, I wouldn't worry about that one bit. I'm like, yeah, where I'm from, this is something to worry about, because I did not want to track a bear I wounded. And you know, especially if it starts getting dark, it's like, well, we're gonna back out. We're gonna wait a little bit. And where we had to get to this bait was like Mount Olympus. I mean, we had to take a side-by-side most of the way, and then we had to walk a couple hundred yards. I mean, it was a hike just to get up there. So we had to go back down, grab some flashlights, and then came back up maybe an hour later, and we started tracking, and there was blood everywhere. And really what the reason the arrow looked the way it did is, you know, bears are so fatty.
That makes sense.
And I didn't really think of it that way, but the bears are so fatty, they clean the arrow pretty much clean off.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And I mean, it wasn't 20, 30 yards, and you could see blood. When you hit an animal and they start to bleed, you can kind of tell when they're bleeding from both sides, right? You can kind of tell if you didn't get a pass. I mean, I knew I got a pass through, but you can tell sometimes if there's like a poor entry or something like that, where it's kind of splattered on one side where he was spewing on both sides. I had shot him with a slick trick torch, and he opened up for probably 60, 70 yards and just piled right up. So, yeah, that was awesome. Got him gutted, got him dragged, and that was that. That was my first bear hunt, and
it's exciting.
I can't wait to do it again. It was super fun.
I would love to experience it, but like you said, I've only ever seen him at the zoo, so I'd be shitting my pants for sure the very first time a bear came in that close to me.
Yeah, with my hunt, you know, whenever I found out we were hunting from the ground, I told the guide, I said, I'm not sitting there. He said, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. He said, I'll sit with you. Yeah. So he did. The first couple nights, you know, he didn't have and we were the first group in camp, so he didn't have a lot of work to do those first couple nights, so he stayed there. And like you said, you hunt afternoons. It's up there.
Yeah.
It never gets dark.
You can hunt in the morning, and the guys, they get trail camera pictures of bears in the morning or midday.
Right.
But it's so much more efficient to hunt them in the
evening.
afternoon. Because if you bump bears off the bait in the morning, they might not come back in the afternoon. It's just you're so much better off to just keep your chances as high as you can.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't kill them if you're not out there. That's an age-old, saying. But at the same time,
Be smart about
hunt smarter,
Yeah.
not harder. So,
right.
that's what I did.
Well, what I learned up there quickly was those bears get acclimated to the side-by-sides and the quads.
Oh, yeah.
They know the sound of that, and they know when it's there and when it's gone.
Yep.
And they know when it leaves. That usually means they can go to the barrels.
Yep.
And those first couple days, we had heard some bears but didn't see them because he never left on the quad.
Yeah.
And
that makes sense.
he stayed there with me, so they were kind of out and around but wouldn't come in because we never left.
Yeah.
And then on the very first day that he left me by myself is when they started showing up.
Yeah.
And that's when the first one come in, and he was 6 feet from me, about 400 pounds. And I'm like, this is insane. Like, what the hell am I doing? And, then the one ended up shooting come in an hour after him, and he was on all fours, standing on all fours next to a 55-gallon drum. His back was above the drum.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a hammer.
Yeah.
It was exciting. I mean, it was fun. It was, it was a good experience. Some of the guys in camp, the one in particular, we had a lot of footage of. He had a sow come in with 3 cubs. Cubs climbing up the tree, hanging on his GoPros, just kind of like hanging there, looking into the lenses and stuff. I mean, they're pretty cool animals.
Yeah, they definitely are. And I can confidently say that the meat was fantastic. I loved it.
It was.
Whoever says it's trash meat, I mean, you can.
I've heard that a lot, and I don't know why.
You can send it my way.
Yeah, there was.
I'll take it. Now I could see. I mean, it was warm weather. I mean, it could have something to do with if you don't get them cold quick, or if you let them sit there too long. I mean, I'm sure it's true for any animal, right? I mean, whitetail. I'm not shooting a whitetail when it's super hot and letting it bake in the heat.
Yeah,
right?
In the midday sun.
So, I mean, I thought it was fantastic. I mean, we grounded it up into burger, and it was as good as. Yeah,
we had. I know one of the days for lunch, like we had a French Canadian cook there.
Yeah.
Guy, he was a chef. He could cook.
Yeah.
We come in for dinner the one day, and I thought we were eating beef fillets, and it was actually the bear meat.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. I'm telling you, would know the difference.
Yeah.
Just the way he prepared it, and it was excellent.
Yeah. So.
And I'd always heard bear meat sucked.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. I mean, I've heard people say whitetail sucks, antelope sucks, and
I've heard the antelope, but
both of those, and those are some of my favorites to eat. So,
antelope is actually my favorite to make sloppy joes with.
Yeah,
I love antelope meat and sloppy
That's what I
joes.
make chili with it all the time.
Yeah.
I will say there's one. I have a friend, and this is like one of the most and I hope, and I'm going to try it again, and it could have just been a bad cut, and again. So I have a friend that went to Alaska and hunted a moose, shot a huge bull. All I could think about was I am so excited for him to bring moose meat back, because in my head, moose meat's probably amazing.
Yeah, because Dan talks about how good it is.
And he brought it back, and we had some, and it was subpar at best. And I probably equate more of that to, the situation of getting a moose home, getting meat home. That's a long, drawn out process. There's a lot of unknowns as far as how well was it kept through certain, shipping and travel. I'm sure it was probably a lot better if we had cut it right off the back
Cooking
strap
at the campfire right while you're
I don't know, but the first moose meat experience I had was not. I mean, it wasn't spit it out like it was terrible, but it was definitely not at all what I had expected it to be.
Yeah.
So it's strange.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables.
Yeah.
It's so far out.
1,000%.
Oh.
Especially an animal that's so, just
Large.
to kill it is so remote. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not like you're going in anybody's backyard and whacking a moose.
Butcher's down the road.
Yeah.
Not around here.
No.
No, definitely not.
So what? Before we get out of here, what hunts you got lined up? Anything this year?
A week from today, I'll be on a flight to Wyoming for mule
Well,
deer.
actually, when this goes out, you'll be back, right? October 22nd. This is going to air.
No, it's the
No, he'll
7th.
be out there.
Yeah, I'll be out
You'll
there.
be there.
Week
He'll be
from
out
today
there.
is the 14th. 2 weeks from today is
Yeah.
21st. So,
He'll be out there.
yeah. When I get back, it'll be launched. But yeah, no, I'm super excited to do some mule deer hunting. I have a hunch that's gonna skyrocket to top of the list of
Things to do.
things that I want to do. They've always just fascinated me. I feel like, the bear hunt, the antelope hunt, like all the other stuff is just kind of like been some filler stuff to do. I got a lot of goals in mind. I'm
Right.
still pretty young, that a lot of things that I want to accomplish and a lot to do.
Absolutely.
And, even at the age that I am, I feel like, I've accomplished a lot more than most my age, and I'm very thankful for that. I'm not, I'm not shy to the fact that, I've had some opportunities, that most others wouldn't have, but, there's a lot that I want to do, and, there's a lot to do in this industry, right? I mean, you build relationships, you can have some pretty incredible opportunities, if you work hard at it. So, but yeah, I'm very excited to mule deer hunt. That's
Backpack or
Yeah.
backpack hunt. Vivian.
Yep. We'll be packing. Little interested to see how the elevation deal works. I can hike all the hell I want in the hills and mountains of Western New York, but I have a hunch that it's going to be a little different.
2,200 feet.
Yeah.
I bet it will.
So we're gonna do my best, and same thing with the bear hunt. I'll be out there for a week. If I'm successful, I'm successful. If I'm not, I'm not. I will, at the very least, I will leave with some knowledge of how to mule deer hunt, what to do, what not to do. I'm super excited as far as to learn, because I've been changing the list as far as what to bring on a Western pack hunt, what not to bring, what to have, what I need
It's
more
a rabbit
of.
hole to go
I
down.
was
You know
just
what
going
I
to
mean?
say that's probably a rabbit hole in its own. Yeah.
So, I'm sure there's going to be a learning curve when it comes to that. So I've packed and unpacked my pack multiple times. My wife is sick of just seeing all the shit laying
Just
on
laying
her
around.
living room floor.
It's like the pictures you
pack
see
it up and
on
leave.
social media of everybody doing their pack dumps in
Yeah.
August and September and,
Yeah.
getting ready and this is what I'm taking. And
Yeah, so, we'll see.
You'll see
We'll
what happens.
We're
Yeah.
how you put
excited.
it in your pack.
Yeah,
What am I
Yeah.
going to need the most? Probably put it on top.
yeah.
What
Yeah.
don't I want to crush? Can't crush my, my zebra cakes.
Yeah. So, but yeah, to be the mule deer, come home. Hopefully, by that time it'll be that third week October usually is when the deer around me are really starting to heat up on scrapes and start their pre-rut stuff. So usually within that, October 18th to Halloween is a great time to kill a
That's
deer.
when I'll get started.
It really almost is my favorite time, because once you get to that that first week November, you can absolutely kill them. It's a great time to be out there. It's a great time to be out there seeing them, but it's also not always the best time to be out there killing them, because when they're rutting, I mean they're doing God, well, we all know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Right.
But
We know what they're doing. They're trying to do.
the hard thing is if you're hunting a specific buck or animal at that time of the year, man, like you are, I mean, you got a beautiful deer you're after. He may or may not be there
yeah.
that time of the year. He could be 3 miles down the road taking care of the ladies down there.
Right,
It's just
and
the way it is.
that's like one thing that I was telling my buddy Jake is, I have as much of a game plan and confidence to kill him really until the rut. Because once the rut hits, that is, there's always the opportunity for a deer to wander and have, the neighbors shoot him or what, that's happened to me. It'll happen to everybody here. But, for me, I'm very confident in, I know his pattern, I know his history, I have historical data to know like where he's staying, that the likelihood of him being killed by somebody else is very, very low until the rut hits. Mm-hmm. Once the rut hits, I still have historical data on where he's going to go, but I sure as shit know he's going to be on properties where he can be hunted by other people.
Right.
So, that's why it's imperative to give it the best shot I can to do it then. And then if it happens, it happens. I mean, hell, he made it all through last year perfectly fine. So
yeah, he's not dumb.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah,
he's not dumb. Well,
so excited.
Cool. Well, hopefully you get him.
Yeah.
I'm
I hope so
hoping
too.
to see
He's a hammer man.
Yeah.
some pictures
nice.
headed our way. You holding his rack with the new bow next to it.
Yeah. Yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's gonna be a good year. Already kicking it off good with the bear, so hopefully keep that train
Keep
rolling.
it rolling. Get a
Yeah.
muley.
There you
Come
go.
home.
Yeah.
Have you named this whitetail, this buck you're after?
I didn't name it. My wife did.
Oh,
Rudy.
Rudy.
Yep. Don't know why she named him, but I don't like name deer. I don't.
Yeah, I never did.
People that do, I don't have anything against that. And I've sort of come to the thing of if I have serious history, like sheds, pictures, encounters, nightmares, keeping me up at night. Okay, you can be named and you can earn that. But if I, outside of that, it's just a deer, right?
It's just another deer.
So, but yeah, no, I hope to have a mule deer. My Illinois buck is ready from the taxidermist, so hopefully do a little drop off and
Oh,
there you go.
and
Yeah.
Swap
and
them out.
and then
That's a good idea.
hide the bill from my wife. The taxidermy bill this year could potentially be
It's cheap.
quite a lot of money. No, it's not. No, it's not.
Come on,
Taxidermy,
don't
used to
tell.
be.
Don't.
taxidermy is not cheap. So, yeah.
And you know what? You want it done right. You want it done right too.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you do.
That's
Yeah, you don't want it to look like a stuffed animal you want on a
It's gonna-
it's gonna
peg
be-
board at a carnival.
you're gonna have it the rest of your life. Better look good.
You don't want to look like
know.
Pancake Gary.
Oh, wow.
Ah, here we go.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of bad taxidermy.
No, it's like
I
the
don't-
wedding we were at had a bunch of old taxidermy. Oh man.
Oh yeah, we were walking around. I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
Some bad stuff out there.
Yep. Do your research on that stuff if you're willing to spend the money for it.
My first buck that I got mounted, it was in 2009,
Yeah.
and I can't tell you how much time
Oh, knowing you,
researching
I bet.
taxidermists and just reaching out and talking to it was almost like I was interviewing them. And my dad was still living with my parents, stuff like that, and he was on the calls with me, it was a big deal.
I mean, honestly, I don't blame you one bit for that.
No.
I mean, I told you earlier. I mean, my taxidermist and I we're like this because I trust him to do the job that I asked and paid to be done, and he takes a lot of pride in what it's so imperative to me that the guy that's mounting it knows what's at stake, because if he gives out a product that his customer doesn't like, well, it's not just, it's going to give him a bad rap, right? Nobody's
Yeah.
going to advocate for him that he's putting out good work. So, I think there's a lot of taxidermy studios out there. They're just churning them out. It's a revenue stream. They're getting them in and out as fast as possible. I've got buddies that will say, I'm paying my taxidermist an extra X amount of dollars for a rush fee. I'm like, don't.
I would never.
No way.
Honestly, if your taxidermist offers a rush fee, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are
quite
you
frankly.
rushing for too? What
Right.
are you? Why?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No. No thanks.
I would agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
That
Certain
would
things
make
you
me
just
second
don't
guess.
want to rush. And
Yeah.
taxidermy is one of them.
100%. I mean, if you you spend a lot of time and effort, like most people do, some people don't, but most people do into this sport to harvest the animal. I mean, give the animal the credit that it's due to be, portrayed in its glory, right? So, yeah.
I agree. Well, hey, man, we appreciate you giving us the opportunity to talk about the new bows and
my pleasure.
Here for the launch and us being able to launch the podcast the same day and we appreciate the partnership with Elite. I mean we love shooting Elite bows. We love the products, CB, Scott, the Ultra Arrows. Great stuff, and the Slick Trick broadheads, everything that you guys have that represent you as represents us, and we're thankful for that. Definitely appreciate your time.
Thanks for letting us shoot it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen him so excited about, like, last night our neighbor was over and he was just, his neighbor was asking him, like, oh, when the new Elites come out, are you going to get a different bow? And he's like, I love this era. I'm not getting anything else.
Yeah, I thought the
And
same
then-
thing.
I've heard that.
Damn it, Jordan.
I know.
And I saw within one shot him
Yeah.
already thinking about what color he was going to
Yeah.
get. So.
Yeah.
I even told you, I was like, man, I kind of feel bad you can't pull this back right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm
Yeah.
excited to get my hands on one
Heck
that,
yeah.
that I can keep. So,
Yeah, no doubt.
but well, hey, we're gonna head on out here, and I guess it's time to write an order for some bows.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Let's do it.
you got
let's get one going.
I need bows, and
Yeah,
you got bills to pay.
sure do. Diapers aren't getting any cheaper, I'll tell you that.
That's it.
My kid goes through a lot of them. So.
Yeah.
That's
All
great.
right. Well, hey guys, it was
Yep.
good sitting here with you, Megan. Glad to have you back again.
Yep.
And we're gonna go order some bows and head on out of here. So everyone that's listening, watching out there, thank you for tuning in. You definitely want to get out and shoot one of these bows. I'm excited to see the other models whenever they come out as well. So we will have them at Creek Archery. Stop down and give them a try. I think this one here in particular, you shoot this, it's going to surprise you. So
Yeah, and if you're not local, look up your local shop. I'm sure there's a shop finder on the Elite website.
Yep.
lots
Find
of
your
places.
local shop. Go
Yep.
check them out. Go shoot them.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jordan, thanks again, man.
No
We
problem.
appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, guys. Take
Thanks,
care.
everybody.